Good evening. I would like to thank NATO and Creative Time and Cooper Union and everyone for being here. I try my best to cover the Asia in 15 minutes. And of course, it's impossible to report what's happening in Asian contemporary art. And in 15 minutes, one country for each minute. And here's so Southeast Asian heavily. I will focus heavily on Southeast Asia and Thailand, where I base. As you may know, that the streets in Asia never sleep. So as its politics, economics, society, and artistic production. And since our social condition has been changed rapidly after the Cold War, Asian artists are working constantly to redefine themselves and their work due to that changing condition, and it challenges and provocates students, social activists, artists, and intellectuals to be more engaged in the society. So this presentation will take you to the streets of Kathmandu to Bangkok. And since the last 200 years, the Nepal country in the hills of Himalaya, it was ruled by the monarchy system, and in the last 3 years, it's been changed rapidly to the communists. And here's the artist, a woman artist, Ashmina Ranchit. She's a graduate from Columbia University, and when she came back to Nepal, she started an organization called Laksana, which is an alternative space and the artist trust. That this is the top images is the project that she collaborated with the Danish woman artist called the Woman Down the Pub to raise the awareness of a feminist issue in the new Nepal. And the bottom is the performance that she created with her friends when the Nepali announced the state of democracy before the election. And it is prohibited to walk for more than 5 people on the street. So she worked with his friends and a lot of performance artists, as well as collaborate with the radio stations. And they were walking on the street from the riot spots to the Parliament House. And here we go to Singapore. As a young nation state in Singapore, which is just formed in 1960, a Singaporean artist, after the last 40 years, they start to ask the question about identity and the birth of the nation. And this is the project that an artist village, which is a collective artist from Singapore, they create a project called Artists Investigate Monument. The artist whose this project is called Lee Wen, he shows the statue of Sir Stanford Raffles, who is the founding members of the nation, which is the British governor. And his idea is to create a platform, a scaffolders, and he allowed the audience to walk up and to face to and see the Raffles face to face. We just want to critique how Singaporean perception on the historical figures and an attempt to deconstructing the myth. So now we go to Jakarta, Indonesia. This is a young artist of the Jakarta or Indonesian, a generation of the 60s and the late 60s and 70s, who grew up with the political crisis, and they're always interested in comics or popular cultures, and which is different from the previous generation. This is the project by Eko Nugoro. He created the drawing on the mural on the space in Berlin. His idea is he always creates characters in his, from his own imagination. This is the project that he's working with the Kurdish community in Berlin. He's working with the students. After the fall of the Suharto regimes, 3 decades of military leaderships, Indonesia entered the new chapters of social, political history. A lot of artists start collective projects emerging during that reformasi or reformation in the period around 1998. This is a group called Tarang Padi, which is one of the community-based artists from Jakarta who always work with the underprivileged and the underrepresented group of people in Indonesia. And they always use a very traditional media like printmaking or painting, as well as graphic design. And their work dealt with the plight of farmers and grassroots people to create the awareness and help them raise their voices in the society. And here's the piece that the right one is the project that they collaborated with the factory workers in Thailand. And when they were invited to do the project by a small alternative space in Bangkok called Conference of Birds. They working with the factory workers who were laid off by the factory, and they produced their own T-shirt and distribute, as well as they distribute their own production through the many type of space, like in the gallery space as well as in the market. Doesn't work. Okay. So here's another project by the NGO, which is based in Yogyakarta, called Kampung Haliman. And they're working, we found this project is quite interesting because they're always working with the kids, in Indonesia. And this project, they gave the video to the children who was detained, or the kids who were detained in the correctional camp. And a lot of NGO in Indonesia, they always use art as a tool to develop the children's and also ordinary peoples, to give the voice. I think something wrong with this. Okay. So here's the project by the Burmese artists. You might wondering what happened in Burma, and I would say that this is Burmese art scene is quite interesting and vibrant at the moment because they were living under the oppressive society for 40 years, and a lot of younger generation artists, they're trying to find their space. Mostly they work underground, and this is the previous slides, which is the project that one artist started the initiative called New Zero Art Space. And this is a project that they work with the Nagris cyclone attack, I think in the last 2 years. This is another piece by Popo, who is one of the quite well-known Burmese artists. He's working with the many international exhibitions throughout the region. This is the project that he's interviewing about 100 people in Burma and around the regions, about their identity. It's video art and photography. This is also quite impressive project in Cambodia, when all the social memory and artifacts has been almost destroyed during the Khmer Rouge. One of the very famous filmmakers, Cambodian filmmakers based in Paris, Gridthiya, he started to went back to Cambodia, and he created one project called Bopanna, which is audio-visual kind of archive. And he started to collect all the films and material which was survived during Pol Pot period. And a lot of films now is accessible to the public. And this is in the project was in the border of India, in Assam area, which is quite interesting place between India and Northeast India and Burma. This is the project called Design Machine, and it's a collaborative between two artists and architects. And they also have one board which they invite artists and different type of creative people, to join in this board. And it's traveling around the Brahmaputra rivers every year. This is one of the interesting projects inspired by Mao Zedong's Long March. It's called Long March Project, initiated by the curators from China, Gridthiya. He's started this project for about 4 or 5 years ago. And this is one of the artists who's involved in this project. They follow the trail, the Mao Zedong's march, in the 30s from Beijing, and then go to the south and go back to Beijing again. And Gridthiya has expanded his interrogation of revolutionary memory to Vietnam, and he's working closely with Sans Art, Din Kule. And it's quite interesting the way he explored the notion of Ho Chi Minh Trail, without any kind of preconceived notion and detailed studies of what was happening in the north of Vietnam, but he's working with the southern Vietnam, so it's quite complicated, this project. And he actually has exhibited this project in Beijing after that. This is one of the projects by the artists in the show. So South Korea now is quite, they're taking a leading role in the Asian contemporary art, after 30 years of the Japanese, a championship of the, contemporary art in Asia. So Korean, they really, a lot of interesting projects coming out from that area, especially a residency program, as well as a younger generations like artists, which has been promoted by the government and different type of foundations. So now I take you back to Thailand. The first project that Navin Rawanchaikun created was in the taxi gallery, which is actually, he wants to critique the system, like the alternative, the museum system in Bangkok, which did not exist in the 90s, as well as the traffic system. So he invited a lot of artists, including with Gridthiya and Yutaka Sone, to have an exhibition in that gallery space. And this is the project which is part of one of the main projects in Chiang Mai, which is the north of Thailand, called Chiang Mai Social Installation, which was initiated by the students and artists there. So they took all over the space in the city, including with the graveyards and everything. And here is some of the artists, they took the space in the newspaper, and it's kind of reflection of last year's crackdown. It's called Today Will Be a Quiet Day, which is like a reflect of the conscious, and this is what's happening in the last 3 months. Maybe you see some of this in the news. So now we have a color war in Thailand, which is between the red and the yellow. The red is more royalist and pro-royalist, as well as the more conservative, and Oh, sorry. The yellow is more royalist and conservative, and the red is pro-democracy and Thaksin. So after the crackdowns, this is it, right? So you might see something like this in CNN. And this is the reaction of some of the artists that, the organization, the exhibition organized by the government. 1 month after the crackdown, the government announced the plan called reconciliation plans. I would like to end up with this exhibition. That Gridthiya kind of responds to what was happening with the streets in Thailand, as well as the historical resonance. So he created the project called Who's Afraid of Green, Red and Yellow at the commercial gallery, which is around the crackdown area. And this is a project called Erasing. And I wonder how long, for us to get off from the street and go back to the studio to work within this kind of oppressive society. I think we still have a long way to go. Thank you.